Do you know how the U.S. space program has pointed to God as creator? Stay tuned to find out on this edition of Do You Know? I was blessed to grow up in the shadow of the Marshall Space Flight Center and Museum in the city of Huntsville, Alabama, also known as Rocket City. My mother actually worked in the office of Dr. Wernher von Braun and received an award for him for her excellent work. As a matter of fact, I still have some of my favorite space toys I received for Christmas, like my 1966 Apollo space capsule.
G.I. Joe, G.I. Joe, fighting.
Now a new world of fun with G.I. Joe Air Force.
And my G.I. Joe astronaut figure. Check this out.
10 seconds to liftoff and counting.
How's that for a 53-year-old toy?
Communications cord. The realistic capsule has simulated retro rockets. Sliding canopy. Control panel too. And the capsule floats so recoveries can be made. G.I. Joe is the greatest. Nothing else is G.I. Joe.
Anyway, as I got older, I served as a counselor and greeter to campers at the U.S. Space Camp in Huntsville one summer while I was in college, and I was able to share the amazing history of NASA. How familiar are you with the history of the space program? Maybe you've seen the recent film First Man, or better yet, Hidden Figures, the fascinating history of 3 African-American women who, despite facing tremendous racism, greatly contributed to the 1960s NASA program during the space race with the former Soviet Union.
We have the vehicle's speed, the launch window, and for argument's sake, the landing zone is the Bahamas. Should be enough to figure the go, no go?
Yeah, in theory, sir.
We need to be past theory at this point.
We'll be able to calculate a go, no go with that information.
When exactly is that going to happen?
Catherine? Have a go at it?
The goal point for re-entry is 2,990 miles from where we want Colonel Glenn to land. If we assume that's the Bahamas, 544 miles per hour of 46.56 degrees, 2,990 miles. Okay, so that puts your landing zone at 5.0667 degrees north, 77.3333 degrees west, which is here. Give or take 20 square miles.
I like our numbers.
But are you aware of how studying and exploring God's amazing universe has had a tremendous impact on numerous astronauts over the years? As a matter of fact, it wasn't until recently that the world learned that one of the first men on the moon, Buzz Aldrin, actually took communion to give thanks to God, the Heavenly Father, and the creator of the heavens and the earth. Over the years, many astronauts have shared how their space travels greatly influenced their faith in God.
A friend of ours got us to go to a Bible study at a tennis club. And after that weekend, I said to Jesus, I said, I give you my life, and if you're real, come into my life. And I believe, and he did. And I had this sense of peace that was hard to describe. It was so dramatic that we started sharing our story. And I say my walk on the moon lasted 3 days, and it was a great adventure, but my walk with God lasts forever.
One of the most amazing displays of faith by astronauts, however, came on Christmas Eve 1968 with Apollo 8. To fully appreciate their words, it is important to remember the pain and tragedies of that year. To start, America was in the midst of a very controversial Vietnam War. Images came home nightly showing the horrors of the overseas conflict, including the bloody battle known as the Tet Offensive. On the home front, civil rights battles were waging across the country. highlighted by the tragic assassinations of U.S. presidential candidate Robert Kennedy and civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King's death led to riots in big cities all across America, including the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. With this background, watch this amazing Apollo 8 flight.
We are now approaching lunar sunrise, and for all the people back on Earth, the crew of Apollo 8 has a message that we would like to send to you. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. Let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good earth.
These three astronauts, Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders, were named Time Magazine's Men of the Year after their return, as they witnessed the marvelous universe that God has created, giving Him glory to hundreds of millions of viewers around the world. It was the most watched television event ever at that time, bringing hope for peace in the midst of a tumultuous time and showing that science and faith can go hand in hand. For as King David shared, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims His handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words whose voice is not heard. Their voice goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. And that is great news. Don't hesitate to email me your questions at doyouknow@idleadershipforum.org. Thanks for joining us, and remember, never be afraid to share what you know, but always do it with gentleness and respect, treating others as fellow image bearers of God.